Long before Salem became infamous for its witch trials, Connecticut carried out the very first execution for witchcraft in the American colonies. In 1647, a woman named Alice Young was accused, tried, and hanged. Her only crime may have been surviving when so many others didn't. Her death opened the door to decades of fear, suspicion, and accusations that scared New England long before Salem ever even made history. I'm Kathy.
I'm Chris.
I'm Sean.
And this is Weirder After Dark.
This weekend, we got to have a little vacation time. We went up to Vermont and got to go to a spooky little castle.
Wilson Castle.
Yeah, we got to drop a little tease on Instagram about a future episode coming out. But initial reaction.
So fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then talking to Andy and Denise, getting some history on the place, and then getting a tour of the third floor that was off limits. And they were just so kind and so cool.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't violating
anything
illegal. But Andy, Denise letting us closed off areas was so sick. Part of the second floor and all of the third floor, they only let paranormal investigators go when they do overnight stays, and they opened it up to us. That was sick.
You definitely could tell that they cared about the castle.
Yeah.
And want to bring it back to life. I really like that.
That was probably the coolest part, I think, is this they cared so much about the history, so much about getting the history correct.
And Denise is the great-granddaughter of
one of the individuals who lived there. How cool is that?
Yeah. So there's definitely, I think, a lot of emotional attachment to it.
It's funny, the third floor was really creepy. But I didn't get a creepy vibe on the third floor. I got on the first floor. I don't know if that was true for you guys.
You got a creepy vibe on the first floor?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what about the first floor?
There's just a feeling. I can't quite describe it. I didn't hear anything or see anything, but you know when you get kind of vertigo, but you can't really explain it. And
what part of the house were you in? I know the first floor, but the first floor is huge.
The dining room, and then in that front hallway.
Oh, the big one.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in there waiting for the tour to start, and I was like, I'm going to go outside. I'm getting a little... There's something.
Really?
Yeah, I just stepped out.
You waited for the podcast to share this. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Saving all his secrets for the episodes.
Did you guys get a creepy feeling at all in that?
You got one, Kathy, right?
I did. It was a little bit of I'd say the same thing, sort of like vertigo. I sort of felt off-centered.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird
off.
feeling, yeah.
Yours was on the second floor,
Mine was
Kathy,
on the
right?
second
You
floor
talked about,
in the back corner. And it was really specifically the rocking chair that was there. It was weird. I kept expecting it to move, and it was weird. I don't know. It was a weird feeling.
It was cool because we went for a historical tour, and a ghost tour broke out.
Mm-hmm.
It literally broke out in the middle of a historical tour.
It was pretty cool.
It was
pretty cool. I don't know if I had any weird feelings, though, to be honest. I agree. The third floor had the spooky, broken down, haunted house vibe to it. I think part of the reason maybe why I didn't feel anything is because they kept saying that people would always get pictures when they took pictures in the mirrors, and there'd be something behind them. Mm-hmm. So every fucking time I went by a mirror, I was just snapping pictures. So I think I was so distracted trying to catch something that I wasn't probably emotionally open to feeling stuff.
So as your girlfriend says, you were being thirsty?
Yeah. I was like, come on, ghost, show yourself, bitch. And they didn't show themselves. But
Andy, the tour guide, he had 8 people that wanted a historical tour, and they had the 3 of us are any ghosts?
Yeah, talk to us with the ghosts. This place looks haunted as fuck. Apparently, though, gang, it is. So they do tons of paranormal events. So if you find yourselves around Proctor, Vermont, or just looking for a really cool day trip, go check it out. They do historical tours of the house during the day, and they have paranormal teams and mediums doing paranormal investigations at night. So be on the lookout. We'll be doing a little paranormal tour ourselves soon, and we'll be dropping that episode, I don't know, maybe within the next couple months. Well, speaking of paranormal, psychics, mediums, and we're at witches.
We're going to be talking about a witch. Her name is Alice Young, and she was from Connecticut. She was the first witch to...
Wait, pause. Connecticut again?
Again?
I
did not intend for this to be a Connecticut story. I did intend for it to be a Vermont story because we were just in Vermont, but I went...
And she moved to Connecticut?
No, she didn't. No.
Oh.
I think we moved to Connecticut. I think this is officially a Connecticut podcast. Fuck New England. We only do episodes on Connecticut.
So much weird shit.
We got to break this. We got to break this soon.
And we're going to start When most people think of witches in New England, their minds go straight to the historical witch trials in Salem. And it's understandable to have that association. Because even though the height of hysteria lasted only just over a year, from 1692 to 1693, Salem became the epicenter for one of the most notorious eras in American history. In the short span, 156 people were accused of practicing witchcraft, 30 were convicted, and 19 were executed by hanging. Driven by fear of the devil, tension within the community over land, and the desire for power and attention, the trials erupted suddenly and consumed the town. While other towns in British colonial pre-New England saw witchcraft cases, none matched Salem's scale or intensity.
It is kind of crazy that 1692 to 1693, and still to this fucking day, the only thing people can tell you about Salem is witches.
Witches.
Like how many
It's
things...
the witch city, yeah.
Yeah, how many things, though, like, last 300 plus years,
Well,
and that's still what they're known about?
You remember the Laurie Cabot episode, right?
Yeah,
They did not lean into the witch lore until they realized they could make some money off of it.
Sure.
And then it became the witch city, and they changed all the emblems, and it became all about witches. And rightfully so, it's a really cool city.
It is. And cool history, intriguing, weird history, right? But what else? I gotta know, what else can last 300 years? It's literally war,
the Declaration
witches,
of Independence.
war, war, and witches are the
it.
only thing that lasts 300 years. Like, it's crazy.
Because of Salem's huge numbers in that short span of time, it has endured in the public imagination as the place where suspicion turned deadly, a cautionary tale of how quickly a community can unravel when fear outweighs reason. Digging deeper into the history and wanting to go back to where it all started in the new land, ironically where people fled to find a life without religious persecution, I discovered that Connecticut is where in the early settlements it all started. The witch trials in Connecticut stretched on far longer than Salem's brief but infamous year. Between 1647 and 1697, a span of over 50 years and beginning nearly a half a century before Salem, Connecticut became the first of the New England colonies, and likely the first in all of colonial America, to hold a witch trial and carry out an execution.
Whoa, so 50 years before Salem, they were fucking putting witches on trial in Connecticut.
Sure were.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Wow, how come we don't know that? See, that's crazy.
It all starts in Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut.
In that time period in Connecticut, an estimated 30 to 50 people were accused and brought to trial. 11 were executed. 9 women and 2 men. An unsettling record that, while smaller in scale than Salem's single year of hysteria, unfolded over decades and left its own lasting mark on early American history. At the very beginning of this chapter stood one woman whose name would be etched into history, Alice Young, believed to have been born Alice Ashby in England around 1615. She crossed the Atlantic to the British colonies and eventually settled in Windsor, Connecticut. Tracing her origins is no easy task. Nearly 4 centuries have buried the details with lost documents and incomplete records, leaving only fragments to piece together. Historians suspect she may have come to Massachusetts originally. Property records place a Young family beside the home of the Holmans in Cambridge, and the Holmans employed a maid named Alice Ashby. In 1638, a marriage record appears for a John Young, and from that moment, Alice Ashby seems to disappear from records, replaced by Alice Young. So it kind of goes without saying that.
A little name switcheroo.
Yeah. She and John at that time likely moved to Windsor to start their lives and raise their only child, a daughter named Alice Jr.
Wait, so there's no reason for why the name switcheroo?
Just she got married.
Ah.
So yes, just she got married. So Alice Ashby kind of disappeared from record. Like there was no more talk.
Sorry, we don't need to explain this before.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, my bad.
Yes. And she has a daughter named Alice Jr.
Gotcha.
Okay. So after Alice and John settled in Windsor, details of her daily life slipped into silence. There's no journals, records, or town reports that survived to tell us what she was like. But what we do know is John worked as a carpenter, and together they owned a home on Backer Row with farmland and woodlots, including 40 acres across the river from their front door. So they had some property. So
Nice.
Yeah.
They're doing okay for themselves.
In a town still finding its way and trying to survive in the new world's bitter winters, having such properties would symbolize stability and respect to the families living around them. Alice lived the life of a married Puritan woman. Her world was defined by hard labor, strict religious expectations, and the constant demand of survival. Her days would have been filled with the unending cycle of domestic and agricultural work. She likely woke up before dawn to tend the hearth, prepare meals for whatever the season allowed, churn butter, and preserve food for the long winters.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, dude, I bitch about having to be up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
to get to work. All I gotta do is take a fucking shower. I'm gonna drive to work. Gotta boot up my laptop and fucking swearing at it. Like, she's out there churning fucking butter. Goddamn.
I ran out of creamer, damn it.
Yeah, why is everything hate me?
Can't have my coffee in the morning. Well, in addition to caring for her home, she would have helped also in the fields, planting, weeding, and harvesting, and assisted in tending any livestock. In a community where every able body contributed to survival, her labor would have been considered essential. As a mother to her daughter, Alice Jr., born around 1640, she would have been responsible for the child's moral and religious upbringing, as well as her physical care. In Puritan New England, motherhood was seen as a sacred duty, and women were expected to instill obedience, devotion to faith, and a strong work ethic in their children. Education for girls were informal, often taught at home, and focused on reading scripture, sewing, and household skills. All the things that females
So many
need
jokes
to survive.
I'm not allowed to say.
You can make them.
Yeah.
We're here for them.
Yeah. Alice's role as a mother would have been both tender but disciplined, shaped by the belief that a child's soul was always in need of moral guidance. For the next 7 years, Windsor knew Alice Young as a steady presence, a wife, mother, a neighbor whose life moved in step with the town's slow growth. Alice's name appeared in no court records, no disputes, no scandals. She was simply part of the fabric of a settlement, and her family's land and labor contributed to its survival. These were years when trust was built in small ways: a shared loaf of bread during hard winter, a hand lent at harvest, a watch kept over a sick child. In a place where every absence was noticed, her presence was constant. Yet beneath Windsor's calm, their strict belief and quiet suspicions were already hanging in the air. In the spring of 1647, Windsor, Connecticut was under attack from an invisible enemy. The influenza epidemic swept through the town, striking households without regards for wealth or status. The death rate more than quadrupled that year, with Connecticut seeing a total of 8,500 people dying and the small village of Windsor seeing between 40 to 50.
Wow.
Wiping it out.
Grief was definitely heavy. Illness moved swiftly from house to house, leaving families desperate and filled with fear. The meeting house bell rang so often it seemed to mark not the hours, but the deaths. In a community bound by faith and fear, tragedies and disasters like these were not considered random and without reason. This reminded me of the tuberculosis episode with the vampires.
Also Connecticut.
Like, they need someone to blame. They look for what could make sense. All the loss and pain and fear the people felt, they demanded that there be a cause. And in the minds of many, that cause could be human. Someone the devil had a hold on, whose presence brought the anger of God down upon the town.
Do you know what wouldn't cause influenza epidemic? These fantastic candles from Ghost Poppy. They have a brand new candle out called Housewarming, and it has the lovely scents of apple, fig, and pine. It is both cozy and welcoming. Kathy, these are some of your favorite candles, aren't they?
They are, yes. I got them today, and I have been burning the 2 new ones. The other one is black tea, sandalwood, and amber. I had it burning.
Is that what we do with candles? We burn them?
We burn them, unlike some of the witches during the witch trials.
Ooh.
But this one, because of the black tea, it reminded me of my Nana and her house because she always drank tea.
Oh, cute.
And so I was working and I had it burning, and then I had this weird flashback sitting in my Nana's little galley kitchen drinking tea and eating Entenmann's cookies from the little blue container.
Oh,
yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
So it kind of brought me back.
I love that. So, gang, if you are looking to avoid the influenza, and again, remember, we're not doctors, but go ahead over to Ghost Poppy, purchase one of these awesome soy candles. Again, they are vegan, cruelty-free, and they absolutely smell delicious.
One of the things I love about it, not only are they soy and handmade, but the peanuts, if you dump them in your sink and run water over them, guess what? They dissolve.
Fuck yeah.
No waste.
Just like those witches. So, if you find yourself ghostpoppy.com and you pick yourself up one of these fantastic smelling candles at checkout, be sure to leave a note, hashtag Weirder After Dark. We don't get money, but we get good vibes.
That's
and
right.
So will you.
So back to Alice. It was in this climate of sickness and suspicion that whispers began to stir. The same neighbors who had once shared bread now eyed one another with a quiet unease. Old grievances resurfaced, minor wrongs took on darker meanings, and the line between the natural and the supernatural blurred. For Alice, life became a tense balance between the unrelenting demands of her household and the constant fear that sickness might find its way into her home. Each morning, she carried on with work expected of a wife and a mother, yet the constant worry of this illness was never far from her thoughts. She lived near the Thornton family, who lost 4 children in the space of weeks. And just to note, after this devastating loss, Thornton would go on to drastically change his life and become a minister, later becoming friends with Cotton Mathers.
Again,
Cotton Mattis. Everywhere you find the devil, you find Cotton Mattis.
God damn it. This is so relatable in some ways, though, just based off of the pandemic we just went through a couple of years ago, right? I mean, this obviously way more deadly than probably what most of us experienced. Think of the fear we all had. Now just imagine watching your neighbors die and just being like, I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to fucking go anywhere. Like, ugh.
Yeah, with very little understanding of illness and how to fight it. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that belief that they had such a strong belief in God. God created everything good. So if there was something bad, it just reinforced the idea of the devil. And then they had to have that outlet for it.
Yeah, you were in church at least twice a week hearing about the dangers of the devil. So anything that went wrong in town, I could see why the devil would be invoked, right?
The town's minister, Reverend John Warham, stood at the graves of 2 of his own children, delivering the same words of comfort he had spoken over so many others. Even the local physician, Dr. Bray Rostier, could not escape the reach of the disease, losing his child despite all of his skills. In a settlement as small as Windsor, every death was personal. Neighbors did not simply hear of a loss. They stood beside the grieving at the graveside, carried the coffins, and felt the absence in the faces around the village. Funerals became a part of everyday life for these people. In such a climate, survival could be as dangerous as illness. Alice's only child lived, while so many others perished. A fact that might have stirred unease among grieving neighbors.
Is this the start of the witch trip because her kid didn't die?
Her kid didn't
Imagine
die.
surviving and then being like, you must be a fucking witch. What
Oh,
the
you're a witch
fuck?
now.
Yeah, that's pretty much where this is going.
Because, yeah, she sounded like a very pious member of the community up to this point, right? And why would anybody accuse her of being a witch?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they go through all this death, and and she survived, and her husband survived, and her child survived.
All 3 of them did.
All 3 of them did.
Witch.
Yeah. In a community held together by strict beliefs, it was not unthinkable to see such fortune as unnatural, a sign of protection from dark forces rather than just pure luck. This was a time when women were expected to bear many children. The fact that Alice had only 1 may have fueled speculation that she was barren and unable to conceive more children. In Puritan thinking, women who did not fulfill their God-given role as mothers were sometimes believed to be more vulnerable to the devil's influence.
But she was a mother.
But she only had 1 child.
Oh my God.
This was during a time where people...
kids.
Exactly. They had multiple children. She only had 1. So this was seen as...
You know,
unholy.
The evidence is stacking up against her. I say she's a witch.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this was a reason for her to bargain with the devil out of envy for those women who had larger families. There's no recorded names of the first person to accuse Alice. Maybe it began as a whisper between those who had lost the most, but in a year when the death rate had more than quadrupled, the need for a cause and someone to bear it was stronger than the bonds that they had once held Windsor together. Before the year was out, the town would make history, and Alice would stand at the center of it. As with many stories from the 17th century, the details of her trial are lost, yet we know her fate. In the Journal of Massachusetts Bay Colony Governor John Winthrop, an entry notes, "1 blank of Windsor arraigned and executed at Hartford for a witch." The missing name remained a mystery until 1904, when the Hartford Courant, in an article titled 1 blank of Windsor, connected Winthrop's note to a diary kept by Windsor's town clerk, Matthew Grant. His entry for May 26, 1647, reads simply, "Alice Young was hanged." So because of that document, they were able to piece it together. After Alice Young's execution in 1647, her husband, John Young, sold their Windsor home and by 1649 had moved to Stratford, Connecticut. By 1650, he had reconnected with his former Windsor neighbor, Thomas Thornton, the same man who, after the loss of his 4 children in the 64 epidemic, had undergone a deep religious transformation and became a minister. Despite the likelihood that Thornton's fuel-griefed convictions played some role in the accusations against Alice, the 2 men appeared to have remained on friendly terms.
So, Chris, Kathy dies because, I am like, fucking witch! She's a witch! And people kill her because of that. We still buddies, right? We still going to grab a beer
You
later?
guys are still cool?
yeah. Grab a beer?
Yeah, we're still boys.
Okay, cool.
Well, that's what happened here.
Well, I don't see any of your concerns, Kathy. That's fucked up.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
So fucked up.
I think it's pretty clear she's a witch.
Yeah. Do you think he believed she was a witch? He was like, I don't know, man. Like, she only had one kid. I did my job.
It was clearly her fault, not his fault.
Duh.
I really don't know because in his life, he moves and then in his will, even though you only left your stuff to your sons, you could leave it to the females. He didn't leave his daughter, Alice Jr., anything. So nothing got left to her when he died.
Damn.
That's cold.
Yeah. And Alice's daughter, Alice Jr. herself, has an interesting little story that we talk about here. Now,
She became Alice Cooper?
no. She became Alice Young Bayman because she married Simon Bayman on December 15th, 1654. The couple went on to have 12 children. Simon died.
She's no witch.
Simon, well, you wait. So Simon died between 1675 and 1676, leaving Alice Jr. a widow. In colonial New England, widows without sons were sometimes vulnerable to witchcraft accusations. Not necessarily because of the belief that they were actually witches, but because the accusations could be used to strip them of property, wealth, and goods, transferring the control to other male relatives or to community leaders. For Alice Young, the danger came decades later, around 1705, 1706, roughly 30 years after her husband's death. She was accused of being a witch. The charge was really odd. They claimed that she was only 40 years old. So they were saying that she was much younger. And the accusation was impossible to prove because they didn't have birth certificates. But it is also completely inconsistent with the fact that she got married in 1654. Her son, Thomas Bayman, publicly defended her, accusing the townspeople of slander. No formal charges were ever brought. But this event suggests that the shadow of her mother's execution lingered over her life. Even without a trial, the rumor alone was enough to bring her close to sharing her mother's fate.
So having good skin made you a witch too?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what happened with Hannah Krana, right?
Yeah, you look great for your age.
Yeah, she was apparently a good-looking lady. Other women were like, I don't like that good-looking bitch. She's a witch.
So yeah, I think, like the people in the town were just jealous of her. And
you hear that, ladies? Lay off the hydration. Stop with the morning routines.
People suck. So this brings us back to Alice's death. That marked the beginning of Connecticut's long and troubling history with witchcraft persecutions. Although her life is now little more than fragments of historical records, her story set a precedent that would echo for decades. What happened to her was not an isolated tragedy, but the first in a chain of accusations and executions that would claim many more lives. After Alice's execution, there was 46 persecutions and 11 other executions, and it would take over 370 years for the wrongs of the past to be corrected. In 2017, with the help of the First Church of Windsor and the efforts of advocates for the victims, the town of Windsor placed a brick in memory of Alice Young as a way to clear her name and those of others accused of witchcraft. On May 25th, 2023, the Connecticut state officially acknowledged the victims of the witch trials and overturned their convictions. In the end, history gave her what her own time would not, justice, which is a little too fucking late because you hung the bitch.
Hey, she got a brick. We're all good.
It's fine.
And the justice system works fast.
Yeah. I mean, they got to her eventually.
Yes. Wow. You think there's this entire town of people, and not one of them's like, hey, guys, you think this is a little crazy? This is our neighbor. Well, what are you doing here?
Well, they couldn't, because if they spoke up, then they would be accused of being a witch too.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Man.
Would you really speak up for your neighbor? I'd like to think that I would be brave enough to do that, but I don't know.
So it sounds like in the 16, 17, and 1800s, if you were a woman, your best bet was to just pop out a lot of children, shut the fuck up, don't own property, don't be good looking.
So just in the 1600s, it was hard for women.
Don't read.
Hey, I said the 17 and 1800s too.
Okay.
Yeah. I gave you guys 300
all
years
of
of pain.
history.
Yeah. Ever since, 1892, though, you guys have had it easy.
And we're starting all over again.
Yeah. And it's crazy, though. 50 years before Salem.
Yep.
Witches.
Yep. But then everybody automatically thinks of Salem. It was just such a compact event that happened so quickly. It took off like wildfire. And then the town, like you mentioned earlier, and in the episode of the Lori Cabot episode, they just monetized it.
Yeah.
It was good marketing.
For all of the strange shit in New England that I have researched, I have never heard her name before.
Yeah, me neither.
Me either.
It'll be really cool if we ever do get around to doing like the Salem witch trial story. I know it's been done 1.5 billion times, but if we ever do, now we have like additional context to build on top of that about like they clearly were probably hearing that there were witches in some nearby states or nearby towns, and I guarantee that had to be feeding into
Yeah. So you have Cotton Matters, who becomes friends with Thornton, who was there for the first execution of a witch in this time period.
And he shows up in the Salem witch trials.
And he shows up in the Salem
as like
exactly.
expert.
So I think when you start looking at it, like all these people are moving, even though it seems very rural and they're far apart, they are all kind of intertwined together.
I feel like we've got to get like a cork board. We got to start like keeping track of the episodes and the situations where like these people's names pop up and the timing of it all. And we'll just have one of those string fucking
I love this idea.
The mysteries of the 1700s.
Because Cotton Matters was involved in the Rock Throwing Devil too.
Yeah. And we haven't officially released this episode yet, but your Dighton Rock episode.
Yes, he's in that one.
There was another one though. I can't remember what it was. One of the stories I did, he was in, because I remember being like, Cotton Matters, he's here too.
He's there. He's everywhere.
Here, man.
He's like the Warrens.
Interesting story, Kathy.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing the story of Alice Young. Definitely appreciate that and all the research. And gang, I hope you enjoyed it as well too. If you did, feel free to go ahead and check out our Instagram. That is at Weirder After Dark. Well, Kathy will be going ahead and supporting some supporting information from 1692 and 1693. Don't forget, we're also out there building some communities. So if you have not checked out our Instagram, our Facebook, or our Reddit page, I just got one question for you. What the fuck are you waiting for? Go do it. Stop fucking around. Go check it out. We are always on the hunt for your stories. So if you have anything strange, weird happening in New England to you, whether that is aliens, whether you have seen a serial killer, whether you have, I don't know, your whole family has survived influenza and people are accusing you of being a witch, send those stories to us and you can send it to thegang@weirderafterdark.com. The best thing you can do to support us is to wherever you're listening to this, whether that is Apple or Spotify, drop a 5-star review, give us a quick little like. If you do, I promise you, we'll read your name in a future episode. Read your name in a future episode. How cool is that? Do it. Don't forget, it always gets a little weirder after dark.
Bye.
Thank you, yes.